Hello, my name is Naima. I'm the one behind Coco and Soko, and today I wanted to show you guys how to make this Grannysquare butterfly bucket hat. Yes, you could technically make this hat with any Grannysquare, but just to make sure everything is the same, I wanted to use the same squares that I've been using, which is this Butterfly Grannysquare. I did not come up with this Grannysquare pattern, just the bucket hat situation. So I followed a YouTube tutorial by Square Circle Crochet. I'll leave a link below. But before you go there, I did make a couple of modifications, so I want to tell you that and a couple other things before we get started. Here's the supply list. It does differ a little bit from the Butterfly Grannysquare tutorial, so just be aware. In the pattern for making the Grannysquares, you can choose to use 3 colors or you can just use 2. You will need to make 6 Grannysquares. Each square dimension should come out to between 3 to 3.5 inches. This is for an adult small medium. Keep in mind your tension can change that. So if you do a looser tension, it could become more of an adult large, or if you do a tighter tension, it could become a small. For the modification, I changed the last row. Instead of doing half double crochets, we are doing single crochets, and then for the corners, instead of doing 3 chains, I do 2 single crochets, chain, 2 single crochets, and then you continue along the edge, and then you do the same thing on every corner. 2 single crochets, chain 1, 2 single crochets. Once you finish making all 6 Grannysquares, we're gonna weave in the ends on the back side, and then we're gonna cut all the ends except for this one right here in the middle. We're gonna use that as a fail-safe for when we start putting the squares together. So including the chain ones that you did for those corners, when you count the chains on the top, it should come out to 15. Now that you know the modifications, head over to Square Circle Crochet's YouTube tutorial, which is linked down below, and then make 6 Grannysquares. Once you've done that, meet me back here. Now we're going to put the Grannysquares together. You can sew the edges together if you like, but in this case we're going to be crocheting them together using a slip stitch. So we're going to start with the right side of the Grannysquares facing up, and then we're going to fold it over. So now the back side is facing us, and we know it's the back because we left the string right here, right there. To start, we're going to be working in the chain 1 space that we made in our corner. So count the 1, 2, there's the chain 1 space. And then I'm going to be working in the front loop for this top Grannysquare throughout this row, and then the back loop throughout this row for the back Grannysquare. And so let's find that chain 1 space, which is 1, 2, chain 1. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, and then pull through and make a chain. Now we are going to continue down this row, working in that front loop for that top Grannysquare, and then the back loop for the back one. And then you pull through all 3 because we're doing a slip stitch. And then we will continue doing this down the whole row. Once you get to the spot where there is a knot, from closing off that last row of the Grannysquare, just find a place that works. It's not going to be perfect, but it doesn't need to be perfect. It can be close enough. All right, keep working this stitch until you get to the end, and I'll meet you over there. I just got to the end of the row, and now we are going to tie off. Sometimes I do an extra chain right here just to extra lock it in. Leave a little bit of tail. Here we go. And this is what this should look like. And then now we are going to grab another square and then continue connecting it together. So make sure the right side is facing you on both sides right here. And then you fold over. Wrong side because we got the tail. And then we're going to continue to slip stitch in the front loop and back loop of these V's, and start in that chain 1 space at the corner and then end in the chain 1 space at the corner. So we're going to keep doing this until we get all the way around and we make a headband. So you do the front loop on the front side, back loop for the back side. Yeah, so keep doing this and then meet me once you've made a headband. I've just finished putting all of the butterfly squares together, so this is what it looks like. We've made a little headband, so want to stop here, you're more than welcome to. You can just tie in your ends and you got a headband, but we're not going to stop here. We're going to keep going and make it into a bucket hat. It's time for a magic break. Yeah. This is what the headband should look with the right side facing out. Now we are going to work on closing the top. So what we're going to do is flip it inside out. You can choose any granny square to start your closing. We will be starting to work at the top corner of your granny square into this first chain that's right before this middle zone. So insert your hook right here, and then we're going to grab our yarn, pull through both loops, and then we are going to chain 1. For this first row, I will be weaving in my ends as we go. Now we're going to do a half double crochet into this same stitch that we did our chain 1. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. We'll be working half double crochets throughout this first row. Let's do a half double crochet into this middle section right here. So yarn over, insert your hook wherever it works, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through all 3. We'll be working half double crochets along this first granny square until we get 14 stitches total. We will not be counting this first half double crochet that we made. We're going to start our count at this middle section, the stitch that you made into this middle section. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I will meet you at the end of this square right before we get to this middle section right here. Just got to the end of my first granny square. Let's count the stitches. Remember, we are not counting this first stitch that we did. We're going to start right here at the middle section. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Depending on how you put these granny squares together might change the stitch count at the top of your row. So if you need to make an extra half double crochet next to the middle section right here to get to that 14 number for each granny square, you got to do what you got to do. So we need 14 stitches per granny square section so that at the end of this first row, the final stitch count will be 84. So let's keep working our half double crochets starting into this middle section right here. Half double crochets, that's 1, 2, 3. Yes, you could just count 84 stitches around, but I figure for me, it's easier just to count in 14s. And then when I get to the end, I just know it's 84. So I don't have to do the big count at the end. I just got to the end of the second granny square and I just counted 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So even if I made another half double crochet right here, it would only be 13. So now I'm gonna take this part and then add another stitch after, right here, after that middle section. Just kind of find a spot to put the stitch in there. And then now we will continue along. And then once we get to the other side, we're gonna have 14. So sometimes you have to do a little bit of a back and forth situation, but we gotta do what we gotta do to get that 14 number per granny square section. So I am almost at the end of this second granny square, and then I will show you where I start counting to get that 14 number. Okay, so we are gonna start counting the second square at that middle section right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Continue working half double crochets along this first row in segments of 14 stitches per granny square, and I will meet you at the end of this row. So I'm almost at the end of the row, so let's count our stitches real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then remember how we did that first half double crochet that we didn't count at the very beginning? that is going to count for our 14th stitch in this last square. So we are going to slip stitch into that top chain, or into the chain right there. And that will finish our first row. If you want to count 84 just to be extra sure, you can, but ideally if you did 14 stitches per granny square, you should have 84 stitches altogether. For row 2, we are going to chain 1 and then start our decreasing. We'll start with a half double crochet decrease, and then we will half double crochet 5 stitches, and then we'll do another decrease. So we will continue doing that around. Feel free to do a half double crochet decrease however you like. I will show you an example of how I do them. So I start off with the yarn over. I will insert my hook into that first stitch right here, this V, and then I will yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over again, and then I will insert my hook into this second stitch right here, that V. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1. Now you should have 5 loops on your hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I will yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. Now we will half double crochet into the next 5 stitches. So continue to do the decrease and then 5 half double crochets until you get around to the end of this row. I will meet you at the end of the row. I'm at the end of row 2 and I am going to half double crochet the last 5 stitches. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we will slip stitch into that first half double crochet decrease. At the end of row 2, you should have 72 stitches, and then now we will chain 1 and continue with row 3. For row number 3, we will be working a half double crochet decrease. We will start in this chain spot right here. This is right above the decrease that we did in the last row, so not this spot right there. So let's start with our first half double crochet decrease. And then we will be doing half double crochets into the next 4 stitches. 2, 3, 4, and then another decrease, and then another 4 half double crochets. So we will be continuing around doing the decrease to 4 half double crochets until we reach the end of this row, and I will meet you over there. I'm about to start my last 4 half double crochets. On the last stitch, I will be changing colors. You don't have to change colors if you don't want to, or if you want to change colors more than I am, you're more than welcome to. So let's do these last half double crochets. 2, 3, and now I will be changing colors into this last stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into that last stitch, yarn over, pull through 1. And then I'm going to leave this old color right up in front, just like that, and then grab the new color, make sure to leave a tail, and then pull through all 3 loops, just like that. And then we will be slip stitching not into this top V right here of the decrease from the beginning of this row. It's actually going to be the V right before that one. So let's slip stitch right there, pull through, and then pull everything tight. At the end of this row, the stitch count should be 60. For row 4, I will start with the chain 1, and then we will start working in this V stitch right here that's right above the decrease from the beginning of the last row. So let's start the decrease. I will also be weaving in my ends as I go. And then we'll be doing 3 half double crochets the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3, and then another decrease, and we will continue around doing the decrease and then half double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and I will meet you at the end of this row. I'm about to do the last 3 half double crochets of this row. 1, 2. Okay, maybe I counted wrong, and I will just throw a half double crochet right there. It does not have to be perfect. And then I will do a slip stitch, not in this top V from the decrease at the beginning of the stitch, but the one right before it. So slip stitch right there. And at the end of this row, row number 4, you should have 48 stitches. For row 5, we will be double crocheting around with no decrease. So I will start the chain 1, and then I'm going to start my double crochet into this same stitch that the chain is coming out of. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we will continue doing double crochets all the way around until we get to the end. Your stitch count should be 48. I'm about to get to the end of this row. I will be changing colors on this last stitch. If you don't want to change colors, you don't have to, or you can continue doing whatever type of color change that you would like. So to do a color change with a double crochet, I'm going to yarn over, insert your hook into the last stitch, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and then you should have 2 loops on your hook, and that's when we grab our new yarn. And make sure to leave a tail, and then put that on the hook and pull through 2. Now make this tight, and then now we will slip stitch into this V right here that's right next to this first stitch. And now we'll just pull everything tight. For row 6, we will start the chain 1. We will be weaving in our ends as we go, and we are back to doing half double crochet decreases. So let's start our decrease, and I will be inserting my hook into this first V that's kind of connected to the new color. So do your decrease, and then we will be doing a half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So half double crochet, 1 and 2, and then now we will do another decrease. And we will continue around this row doing a decrease and then 2 half double crochets, and I will meet you at the end of this row. My last 2 half double crochets, and then we will slip stitch into this V that is right before the decrease that we did at the beginning of the row. So not this one right here, this one. So slip stitch, and our stitch count should come out to 36. Row 7, we will do a chain 1 and then half double crochet in every stitch around. So no decreasing this row, just a half double crochet in every stitch, and I will meet you at the end of this row. So at the end, you should still have 36 for your stitch count. I'm about to get to the end of this row. I will be changing colors on this last stitch, so if you haven't cut off your old yarns yet, you can do that now. Since we weaved them in already, it doesn't really matter. So on this last stitch, I will be changing colors. Right there, leave this in front, grab the new color, and then pull through all 3. And then I will do a slip stitch on this chain, this V spot right here, that's right in front of that first half double crochet that we did at the beginning of this row. Slip stitch, then pull tight, and at the end of this row, we should have 36. Row 8, we will start the chain 1, and then we will be working a half double crochet decrease, and then in the next stitch, just 1 half double crochet. I'll be weaving in my ends as we go, and I'm gonna start my first decrease with this very first V, this first stitch that's kind of connected to the new yarn that we just changed over to. So do your decrease. And then in this next stitch, we will be doing just 1 half double crochet. And then we will continue around this row doing decrease and then 1 half double crochet in that next stitch. And I will meet you at the end of this row. I'm on my last half double crochet, and then we will slip stitch into this V right here that's right in front of this decrease that we did at the beginning of the row, and our stitch count for this row should come out to 24. Row 9, we will start the chain 1, and then we will be working a half double crochet decrease in every single stitch of this row. I'll be starting in this first stitch where this V is, that's kind of connected to that chain 1 we just made. So let's do your first decrease. And then we'll do another half double crochet decrease. So continue around doing these half double crochet decreases until you get to the end of the row, and I will meet you over there. On my last half double crochet decrease. And then we will be slip stitching into this V spot right in front of the first decrease that we made. And the total stitch count for that row should come out to 12. Now we are on the last row. We will start with a chain 1, and then we will be working single crochet decreases along this last row. We'll end with 6 stitches, and I'm gonna start in this stitch right here that is slightly in front of the decrease, the first decrease from the last row. So single crochet decrease, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we will slip stitch into the top of that first decrease. Now we can tie off, making a long tail, because we'll use this for weaving in and closing up the hole at the very top. So to close up this little hole at the very top, we're going to take our darning needle or our knitting or crocheting needle, and then we are just going to sew all of these last 6 stitches together. Just like this. We're gonna get it until we're at the beginning. So I might pull it through. I think I have one more to go through. And then now I'll just pull this tight. And then now I will do a knot, maybe 2. So we're just gonna pull this tight. I might do one more knot just to extra secure it. And then I'm gonna just weave in the ends real quick. I don't do anything too crazy. Kind of just go through one way, under a couple stitches, and then I just go back the other way, under a couple stitches. And I'm like, that seems to be good enough. We're getting pretty close to finishing this project. All we have to do is make the brim and then we will be done. So congratulations for getting this far. So we are going to turn our project so that the right side is facing out, just like this. Let's try on our hats if you haven't already. Once again, you can stop right here if you'd like, but I'm gonna keep going and make this brim. Unfortunately, if your hat is too big or too small at this point, there's not much we can do to change the sizing. That's something that needs to be dealt with on that very first granny square. So at the beginning of this project, when you make your granny squares, depending on the size of that square, if it's smaller, the hat's gonna come out smaller. If it's bigger, the hat will come out bigger. There's some math involved, and if this is something that you are interested in, please let me know and I can make a video about it. Let's get started on the brim. We will begin with having the right side facing out just like this. And then we're gonna look at the top of our hat and find the zone where we connected each row together. So for me, it's right here. This is gonna act as our starting point of where we will begin our first stitch on the brim. For our first row of the brim, we'll be working it similarly to our first row of the closing, except we will be doing single crochets. So we will be doing 14 single crochets per granny square section. So by the end of our first row, our stitch count will be 84. If you remember how to do this from the closing, then continue around and I'll meet you at the end of this row. If you don't remember, I'll give you a quick refresher. Let's do a single crochet into this middle section. I will be weaving in my ends as I go. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we will do another single crochet at the beginning of this next granny square. And then we will continue to do single crochets along this row, and I will meet you just before you get to this middle section right here. I'm about to finish my last 2 single crochets before I count my stitches. So remember, we will not count this first single crochet that we made. This will count at the end of our row. So let's start right here at this middle section, the stitch that we made in the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Remember, if you have 13 stitches or 12 stitches, you can always add an extra stitch in between the middle section and the squares right here or right here to get to that 14 number per granny square section. Let's work the next section. So single crochet into the middle stitch, and then we will be doing single crochets along this next granny square. Now I'll meet you at the end of this square. I'm about to get to the end of the square, and then I will count my stitches. So I will start counting at this middle section, this stitch right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So continue around, either counting each granny square by sections of 14, or you can just do the 84 total, and I'll meet you at the end. I am on my last stitches, and then we will count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then remember how we did that first single crochet and didn't count it? This will count as our 14th stitch, and now we will slip stitch into the top of that stitch. Now we will chain 1. Row 2, we will be working half double crochets around, and we will be increasing. So let's start our first increase in this spot that we did our chain 1. So to increase, we'll be doing 1 half double crochet and then 2 half double crochets in that same stitch. Now we will half double crochet in the next 6 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now in the next stitch, we will be doing an increase. So 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. And then now 6 more half double crochets. We will continue around this row doing an increase and then 6 half double crochets until we get to the end. Our ending stitch count should come out to 98. So I will meet you at the end of this row. I'm almost finished with this row. I will be changing colors on this last stitch. So now we are going to change colors. I'm going to leave the old color behind. I'm going to grab the new color. Make sure to leave a tail for weaving in. Pull that through, and then we are going to be slip stitching not into this top stitch of the increase, but the V that's right before it. So let's make a slip stitch, chain 1. Row 2 stitch count should come out to 96. I think I accidentally said 98 earlier. I will make a note of that on the screen, but just in case you missed it, it's 96. Row 3, we will be working half double crochets in each stitch. There's no increasing on this row, and I'm going to start my first half double crochet in the same stitch that my chain 1 is in, and I will be weaving in my ends as I go. So keep working your half double crochets in each stitch, and I will meet you at the end of this row. I'm almost done with this row. I will be changing colors again on this last stitch. You don't have to change colors if you don't want to, but I want to, so I will. Make sure to leave a long tail. Pull that through, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch into this, not this top V right here, but this one that's right before it. Final stitch count for row 3 should come out to 96. Row 4, we will be working half double crochet increase and then 7 half double crochets in the next 7 stitches. So we will start with the chain 1, and then we will be working our first increase in the chain 1 space that we just made. So half double crochet, and I'll be weaving in my ends as we go, and then do another half double crochet in that same stitch to make our increase. And then now we will do 7 half double crochets in these next 7 stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then now in that next stitch, we will be doing another increase. So 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. Now we'll work another 7 half double crochets. So we will continue around this row doing an increase and then 7 half double crochets, and I will meet you at the end of this row. I'm just about to get to the end of this row. Your stitch count should come out to 108. And then we will slip stitch into not this top V right here, but the one that's right in front of this increase, or behind this increase. For the last 2 rows, I'll be working single crochets. If you'd like your brim to be a little bit longer, you can work half double crochets for these last 2 rows. For my average brim size, I normally do a little over 1.5 inches or 4.5 centimeters. If you'd like your brim to be a little bit longer, you can do the half double crochets around instead of these single crochets, or if you'd like a really small brim, you can just be done right here. Row 5, I'll be working single crochets all the way around with no increasing. We will start with the chain 1, and then in the same chain 1 space, I'll be working my first single crochet. And then I will continue to be doing 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And I will meet you at the end of this row. I'm about to get to the end of this row. Our stitch count should come out to 108. I will be changing colors one last time. If you haven't cut off your old yarn, like myself, I've weaved them in as I went, so I'm just gonna cut these free so that I can keep using them to work with. Change colors if you want to change colors. Obviously, you don't have to if you don't want to. And then we will slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet that we made at the beginning of this row. Now for the last row, I'll be working a single crochet increase, and then I'll be doing a single crochet in the next 8 stitches. Let's start with the chain 1, and then we will be working our first single crochet increase in the same spot that our chain 1 is in. I will also be weaving in my ends as we go. So single crochet and then 1 more single crochet in that same spot. And then now we will be doing 8 single crochets in the next 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now in the next stitch, we'll be doing another increase. So 2 single crochets in that same stitch. Now we will be working 8 more single crochets. So we will continue around this row doing the increase and then 8 single crochets. And I will meet you once we get to the end of this row. I'm just finishing up the last few stitches. Then we will slip stitch into that first chain spot. And then before we tie off, I want to try on the hat and make sure the brim length is what I want it to be. I'm trying on the hat and I like the length of the brim, so I'm going to keep it as it is. Because of the cotton that we're using, it does make the brim a little bit moldable, which is pretty fun. So now I'm going to take off the hat, cut off this yarn, and then weave in the ends, and we are done. Now it's time to cut off all the yarn that should already be weaved in. We have finished our butterfly bucket hat, and this is what it should look like. If you made this hat and you have an Instagram or a TikTok, please tag me at Coco and Soko so I can see your finished work and hype you up. If you have any questions about this tutorial, please leave a comment down below and I will do my best to answer them. But thank you so much for tuning in to my first YouTube tutorial, and I hope to see you again.